And so, but I have a lot of chapters in here like mi fidanzato, which means my girlfriend, because all the old widow ladies in town, I would always go and hug them and tell them that they were my fiancé. And because Italian men have, dozens and dozens of mistresses, so it always made them happy to think that I wanted them to be my mistresses and stuff. So the book I've tried to make as humorous as possible, but also it gets into some deep history, because Gioviano's history dates back seriously to all sorts of cool things that happened below my Tuscan window, which includes Hannibal's last living elephant coming down out of the Alps right across from our house, a Roman road right below, Roman armies marching up and down, and Etruscans and Ligurians, and just the Gothic line, for example, just down the road. So Gioviano was right in the middle of the fighting between the American Buffalo soldiers and the Germans for a long, long time, for several months. So, there's a story about man in a mattress. So in our palace, one guy hid from the Germans in the mattress of one of our beds. Hello, Your Excellency.
Hello.
And so we ought to have his judgeship read one of the chapters in the book. Maybe we'll have him do Mary Magdalene's skull.
I didn't see you were coming informal today without socks.
Yes. Well, I think we have others. We had, in fact, it was sort of against rules. Scotty Cherry Holmes and David Zeller, Chicken Man.
Yeah. Chicken Man.
So, anybody have any other questions at this point?
What part of Italy is Giovanni?
We are just to the north of Pisa Airport, about less than an hour, and we are just to the west of Florence Airport, about an hour and 15 or 20 minutes, depending on traffic. So it's very, very central, and there are other chapters in the book that tell why we selected this particular location. Because of access. We've seen so many people over the years who get all excited at the romance of having a house in France or a house in Italy or a house somewhere. They never get back to it because it's so difficult logistically to return. Whereas the beauty of this particular place is, and I'll tell you sort of a war story. My poor wife, I think I've been married to her since 1967, and we got married in her mother's living room in Glen Rock, New Jersey, and we spent our wedding night about 20 or 30,000 feet over the Atlantic. I think it was wasn't it a DC-7 or something?
I'm not sure.
I believe we had to land in Iceland or not, Newfoundland to refuel, and Iceland to refuel, and all that stuff. And so I think we were probably, historically, we ought to be in the Guinness Book of World Records. We may have been the first people to ever join the Mile High Club. We may have even started it.
7 miles.
Or maybe Tinsley did in Bossburg.
7 miles.
Not before that at all.
Not before that. So anyway, so my poor wife thinking, oh, this is going to be great. A honeymoon in France, 100 days. The first thing I did was give her like 3 Leica cameras and said, okay, you're going to work. This is the next day. So we spent 100 days in France, 17,000 miles. And when we got back, she produced a series of film strips on France, the history, the geography, peasant culture, and I don't know, what were some of the other ones? Paris, etc. And so that, my wife, now I call her Marie Antoinette because based on her hard work in those first years, we made, just off of our honeymoon, I would say, it took a while to make it, I'd say $1 million, which is pretty good for a honeymoon that happened in 1967. And so now she's Marie Antoinette. She has her little farm. She has her little wild pigs she feeds every day, and her little chickens, and her little horses, and her donkey, and drives around and enjoys life, which she has earned the right to do.
But I work hard too. I still work.
Yes, she did. She did. She drove and she bought the wine and selected it yesterday and managed to get the books up here and all that. Yes, she does work. I'm not saying you don't work, right? But you don't go on forced marches through Paris with 4 children and strollers for 15 miles.